Mr. Cook, I got a question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Carlos here. So regarding storytelling, these are awesome, all these roles, and I can definitely identify with them. Now, there's one role I know my skill set is not on par with what it should be, and it's storytelling. Do you have any course or book that would help me? Because something that I've noticed is that storytelling is one of the best skill sets for from selling standpoint and also from getting investment and getting your people to trust you. So you definitely need to master that skill, and that's not part of my skill set. Like, I have not developed that to the point, to the standard that I should. Do you have any recommendation on that end?
Carlos, it's interesting because you just shared a really good story with the group. You did. You just told us a story. And the story was, hey, I'm not really good at this, but it's something I want to get better at. That was a good story. Whether you realize or not, you just told us a story. So, and I say that because I think we're all experienced storytellers. Can we get better? Can we raise the bar? Absolutely. A couple things come to mind there. It's a very good question. Thank you. Maybe first and foremost is practice. Just practice. Being intentional about telling good stories. And maybe it's just waking up in the morning with a story saying, okay, today, this is the story that I want to tell today. And, every story has a beginning and a middle and an end. And so thinking about, okay, how does that story start? What's the middle of the story? And how do I want that story to end? I mentioned last week a really good book called Story Brand. And it's all about crafting good stories. If you think about in a movie, what makes for a great movie? It's conflict. So great stories have conflict between good and evil, conflict between the good guys and the bad guys, conflict between the past and the future. So if you think about, really good stories, ask yourself, where's the conflict that I'm looking to address here? Where's the drama in the story? If I'm the good guy, who's the bad guy? So thinking about stories in terms of conflict and identifying what is the conflict in the story and how do we overcome? Because, the best stories, we overcome the conflict, right? At the end of the day, there's a hero, there's triumph. So what's the conflict and what does it look like when we're done?
And Tim,
Yeah,
I also have a suggestion for you. We have a webinar over storytelling and using your story to grow your business. It's a recorded webinar. It's completely free and it's on our website in the webinars page under the marketing category. So if you filter by topic and hit marketing and then filter by format, do recorded webinar, you'll see it. It's called Creating Your Story, I believe. So you can check that out as well.
Thank you, Natalie. That's a great suggestion. Carlos, one other idea. Are you familiar with TED Talks?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So those are examples. Those are all stories. The best TED Talks is a 15-minute story. And so, I love watching TED Talks as well. And just take note as you're looking at those TED Talks of how, because the people who give those TED Talks, they practice for weeks and months at a time, most of them, and take note of how they have constructed that TED Talk, because it's not easy. It's not easy to do a 15-minute talk, but take note of how they've constructed those TED Talks. That would be a good way to get better at storytelling. Yeah, great question. So here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you, as you look at the 6 roles, you've written down the 6 roles. I'd like on the right there, you see where it says your ranking. I want you to force rank for yourself each of these roles, where number 1 is the role that you feel you're the best at. Number 6 is the one that you need the most help with. And 2 through 5, I want you to force rank. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put a number by each role in terms of where you think you stand on each of those. I'll give you a minute to do that. So I'd like to hear example. Helen, we haven't talked yet this morning. What was your number 1 role and what was your number 6 role?
Tim, my number one role is chief storyteller, and my opportunity is the fun officer.
Okay. And that's not unusual. I find it's not one that a lot of people recognize in terms of their responsibility. But as I mentioned earlier, I think as important as any of them. Let's see, Jenna, what was number one? What was number 6 for you?
I would say number one is race car driver. A big part of what I do is all of the scheduling, making sure everybody knows what they're doing and day-to-day operations. And my room for improvement, I would say designer, just on the overall vision, where we can improve and actually making that happen.
And some of that I think is genetic, in that I think some people are just wired better to be architects, designers than others. Some of us just takes more work, more effort at. Yeah. Okay. Well, I want you to just be mindful of these roles each day, and just ask yourself, where are you spending your time? Where should you be spending your time? How can you get better?